Hello and welcome to the world of tomorrow. If the analytics are any indication, many of you came here through our first Retrofuturism stream. It's one of our most popular videos, it's a subject I love to revisit, and so I wanted to bring the two major themes of the channel together and look at how cartoons from the past envision the future. Let's get right into it. Now I'm going to start with what may be a controversial pick in Futurama, but I think this will be useful in defining what is and isn't retrofuturism, which we'll be elaborating on a bit throughout the video. Perhaps I am showing my age, but Futurama was my introduction to the concepts of retrofuturism. Now this was Matt Groening's follow-up to The Simpsons. It featured Fry, a slacker from 1999, who was cryogenically frozen and thawed in 2999. Upon arriving in the future, he resumes his previous position of delivery boy at his distant nephew's courier service. Drawing inspiration from classic sci-fi, most notably Star Trek, the series followed the delivery crew's adventures as they navigated a futuristic world which greatly resembled that of the 20th century. Retrofuturism is not simply predicting the future, but predicting how modern technology and sensibilities will be adapted in the future. While the series takes place in the 31st century, it was made 20 years ago. At least the original series was, I know it came back, and already it's extremely dated. Still waiting on those suicide booths though. Futurama took its name from the General Motors exhibit at the 1939 New York World's Fair. I'd like to spend a little time here, because I'm sort of obsessed with World's Fairs, and this one was very integral to the development of the modern idea of what retrofuturism is. It also very much informed the aesthetics associated with the style, or concept. While they've largely fallen out of fashion, World's Fairs allow nations to showcase their culture and innovation. They've given us the Ferris wheel, the Eiffel Tower, and in 1939, hope for the future. 1939 was an interesting year. America found themselves in between the Great Depression and World War II, two pretty terrible times, and in the middle, the fair looked ahead to better times. It showcased the ideas and inventions that would define the century, with automation and convenience taking center stage. Designed by Norman Bell Geddes, Futurama imagined an interconnected network of expressways, presenting a solution to traveling America's varied terrain by automobile. The diorama was an acre in size and contained over 500,000 buildings and 50,000 cars. Visitors experienced it in a simulated flight from above, lasting 18 minutes. Other attractions included the Trilon and Perisphere, which served as the symbol of the fair. These were two massive structures designed by Wallace and Harrison and J. Andre Fallahu, inside of which was Democracy, another diorama depicting the city of the future. Speaking of the future, Westinghouse built a time capsule featuring period ephemera like Life magazine and a pack of camels. It was to be opened in the year 6939, which is extremely optimistic to think America, let alone humanity, will still be around in 5,000 years. But then again, the theme of the fair was hope. In 1938, David Max Fleischer produced a promotional short for the fair titled Ol's Fair at the Fair. This followed a couple through the exaggerated wonders the fair had to offer. 25 years later, a group of nostalgic businessmen attempted to recreate this magic with the unsanctioned 1964 New York World's Fair. In some ways, this was the future the original had envisioned. Not only was this peak nuclear age, but also the height of America's economic power and international standing. The fair showcased mid-century modern design and acknowledged the progress that had been made since 1939. Its symbol, the still-standing Unisphere, was made to represent human achievement on a shrinking globe and an expanding universe. While not directly related to cartoons, Walt Disney had a huge influence over the fair, and it was here he further developed the art of audio animatronics. Disney had been experimenting with robotic animation since the opening of Disneyland in 1955. He and animator Rolly Crump designed 4 exhibitions for the World's Fair, all of which would be relocated to Disneyland after the fair ended. There was great moments with Mr. Lincoln, featuring a robotic Abraham Lincoln reciting speeches, of course foreshadowing the Hall of Presidents. General Electric sponsored the Carousel of Progress, walking visitors through the developments of the 20th century, ending with a glimpse of the 21st. The Ford Motor Company presented the Magic Skyway, a cruise through prehistoric and futuristic dioramas, and most famous of all, Pepsi gave us It's a Small World. A major theme of the fair was peace through understanding. Working with this, Disney and Crump, along with artist Mary Blair and designers Alice and Mark Davis, created a tour through the nations of the world. More than 300 animatronic dolls were brought to life from various cultures, singing the Sherman Brothers' It's a Small World in unison. Post-fair, it has become one of Disneyland's most iconic attractions. This era's version of the future is forever immortalized in Hanna-Barbera's The Jetsons. Running from 1962 to 63, it followed the family of the future, Father George, Mother Jane, and kids Judy and Elroy. The Jetsons suffered from the same issue its predecessor, the Flintstones, did, in that it was more or less a 1950s sitcom transplanted into a futuristic setting. Like Futurama, it projected the norms of the time, but rather than address its issues, or possible issues, namely wars, the Jetsons inhabit a future of convenience and comfort. Technology has made it so that going to work is seemingly a formality, though we of course do not see the subclass that allows this comfortable life, no doubt dwelling below. Spiritually, the Jetsons was predated by John Sutherland's Your Safety First. Now we talked about John in part 4 of Animation Propaganda, He was famous for producing pro-capitalist cartoons, and in 1956 he made this short, which shared many commonalities with the Jetsons, not limited to his depictions of the future. It also featured George Jetson's voice, George O'Hanlon, playing a father in search of a new vehicle for his family. They view a program detailing the history of the automobile on a 3D television, highlighting the many ways manufacturers make vehicles safe. Retrofuturism is not limited to speculative media from the past. It can also be used as an aesthetic, or philosophy even, showing some other past future or some other future's past. The examples of these we're going to be looking at are both from 2004. First up, Pixar's The Incredibles. According to director Brad Bird, the world of The Incredibles looks forward from an alternate 1960s, where superheroes are not only real, but outlawed. Forming the group is a nuclear family, with the parents coming out of retirement and the children discovering their powers to battle a former superfan turned villain. Inspired, obviously, by 1960s comics, as well as Cold War espionage films, it maintains the aesthetics of the 60s, so mid-century modern, and true to that period, its soundtrack was recorded on analog equipment. On the other side of the coin is Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. This is an example of the subgenre or style of diesel punk, combining futuristic and diesel fuel technology with the aesthetics from the period between the wars. Sky Captain takes place in an alternate past, specifically 1939, in which an ace fighter pilot and a journalist unravel a mad scientist's plot to restart humanity. While it bombed at the box office, it is notable for a couple of reasons. It is one of the earliest examples of digital filmmaking, mixing live actors against a CGI background. It was also the final film role of Laurence Olivier, 15 years after his death. He was brought back to life using CGI and old audio and film footage. Given its title and setting, New York, it's no surprise Sky Captain leans heavily on the 1939 World's Fair. Director Cary Conran drew inspiration from Norman Bel Geddes and modeled the look of his New York after Futurama. I think it's also worth mentioning that while this film flopped, philosophically or thematically, it was a success, in my opinion anyway, in showcasing the future of filmmaking. Why I think retrofuturism resonates so much with me, and maybe you can identify with this, is because we are living in an increasingly pessimistic time. With wealth disparity, political tensions, and climate change, it's easy to lose hope and feel like there really is no future. To get lost in this idealized tomorrow, where all lives are made convenient by technological advances, and algorithms assist us rather than replace us, I don't know. It's comforting. At the same time though, I think it's important to recognize that one past dystopian nightmare is another's paradise. So chin up. Honorable mention goes out to Interplanetary Revolution. You can hear more about that in part 4 of Animation Propaganda, which just wrapped up. Check that out if you haven't. We have a lot of exciting stuff coming up on Patreon, so if you'd like to dissociate and break time, you can. Patreon.com/picsandportraits, support us there. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Here's to tomorrow.